I'm going to attempt to make a 4-color silkscreen print using this drawing that I made in a recent video. I'll be using my Xtool screen printer and S1 laser machine combination that I talked about in a recent video. I'm not going to go into all the details about how that works, but if you want to know more about that, I will link that video below. I'll touch on a little bit in this video, but it'll be more about the process of the print and getting the art ready for the print, doing all the colors, some tips and struggles and process along the way, and hopefully it'll be a good time and not a complete failure. In the video where I do review and talk about all the details about the Xtool screen printer thing, I attempted to make a 3-color print, and I had some issues because my colors weren't aligning properly. The reason for that was that my paper was cut to size slightly off. When I was using the paper to align all my colors, it shifted and things didn't align anymore. So I'm trying to redeem myself in this video, which needs to happen because the artwork I'm going to be using is a lot more intricate and requires a lot of precision for it to line up properly, which was probably a bad idea. Why did we use this thing for that? Anyway, I'm going to do my best to avoid issues like that in this video. We're printing a whole extra color. It's going to be tricky, but I'm going to be super precise and pay very close attention to cutting my paper and making my screens all perfectly. It's going to be great. But hey, don't forget, the whole point of screen printing is to bring that human touch to it. You want the imperfection. He's right. That's how we fight against the robots. Oftentimes when I'm coloring something like this, I'll just go ahead and choose the first color and just fill in as much as I can that I think makes sense for that color, and then move on to the second color, and then the third. The biggest color here is going to be the white, which is going to be underneath all of the other colors. Because I'm printing on black paper, having that white underneath is really going to help these colors to pop off of the black. If we just printed them straight onto the black, things like the reddish pink color would really see through a lot of the paper on that. You really need some of that white to really be a base for it so that the colors just don't get completely muddied up by the showing some of the paper through. So now that all the colors are done, we can turn off the line work layer because we're not going to use that, as I mentioned, and then I can just bring these over to the Xtool software and make each of these colors into a frame. But before we get into that, I got to share some exciting news. My screen printing laser zone just got a major upgrade thanks to the fine folks over at FlexiSpot. Before this, I had the big laser cutter and the screen printer on this wobbly IKEA table. It was just really short too. It made me feel like an absolute giant. Now, I'm not a huge person, but why is this table so short? I'm not 8 feet tall. With the FlexiSpot E7 Pro, I'll easily be able to raise the table to whatever height that I want or lower it. I could quickly move between different heights for different things. It's gonna be great. When this new desk arrived, I was super excited to get it all set up and move the S1 laser cutter and screen printer onto it and just really upgrade my situation. The setup was pretty easy. I didn't have to go and dig out any special tools. The things I needed came with it, and it was pretty straightforward. It has great cable management and it just tucks everything nicely underneath. It's got this thing that slides up and hides a lot of the wiring and the plugs for the motors that raise it up and down. And best of all, this thing is nice and sturdy, even raised all the way up. This thing goes up super high, and I really appreciate that because a lot of standing desks don't go high enough for what I would want. Someone who's 6'2", the typical standing desk I feel like ends just a little bit short of where I would like it to be standing up. Not the case with the E7 Pro. This thing goes up, 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 all the way up. It has no issues with the weight of the Xtool stuff or even all of my stuff. This baby is built with automotive grade steel and can handle up to 440 pounds. So if you need to put 2 of me on a desk, this is the one for you. With the FlexiSpot E7 Pro, I can easily raise and lower the surface depending on what I'm doing, whether I want to raise it up higher for printing or lower it for loading screens easier. I can even save height settings so I can just press a button and have it go right to the height that I want. This thing also has a 15-year warranty, which makes sense because 16-year-olds are wild as heck. There's also a 30-day free return policy if you don't love it, but I love it. I think you'll love it too. All right, back to the prints. The paper is all cut down to 12 by 12. I took my time and made sure that these were all aligned as close as possible. That way, when I use the piece of paper to align each of the different colors, it's not going to shift. At least if it does, it'll be very, very slim because the paper is as close as possible when cutting individual sheets. So, time to print the first color. All right, I guess it's time to print something. So because I got this a new desk from FlexiSpot, I can just simply raise this up to get it to a nice, comfortable spot to align my screen and print. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the first color screen, and then I'm just gonna slide it in. And I just push these things down, and it's ready to go. So because I'm printing on black paper, it's pretty easy to see the edges of the sheet, so I can set the paper up. So this design is gonna go right in the center. And because this is my first color and it's the white and it's nearly everything, like everything's gonna print on top of it, I know that this needs to be centered. So, got this grid here, and it doesn't sit perfectly on one of the lines, but it is centered on the sides. So what I'm gonna do is just take some masking tape and mask off where I want the paper to sit, and that way I'll put the paper in the same spot every single time, and then the print will be in the same spot every single time. And because the tape got a little bit of a thickness to it, it'll serve as like a stop, barely, but like I'll be able to tell when I'm sliding on the smooth surface until we get to the tape. So I'll put one up at the top corner, and then I can just sort of like lean it into that spot, and it'll feel like it's locked in right in between those pieces. And that way it can be as close as possible on every single print. That's gonna help when we gotta align 4 different colors. To make sure no ink comes out from the edges as I'm pushing the ink down, I'm just gonna go ahead and take some masking tape and put it into the corners. There's also a little bit of a sticky area from the cardboard that was taped onto the screens. Putting tape over it will help me from getting kind of stuck on that sticky spot. I think it's ready to go. I'm gonna lower this just a little bit so I can get some good printy leverage. Squeegee, piece of cardboard over here to put it down on so I don't make a mess. We got our white and maybe glow in the dark ink. So I'm gonna raise this up a little bit off the paper. I already lost the mixing knife, but I found this paint stirrer, so I'm just gonna use this. Now I'm just gonna plop some ink down onto the screen. I'm not worried about using a ton because this is gonna be a lot of coverage and we got a lot of these prints to do. We're gonna make sure this is nice and centered, and then we're just gonna push the ink to the end, then push it down flat, and we're just gonna pull. Not too bad for a first print. Usually, it takes a minute for the screen to get ready. What I'm seeing is that the design is shifted to the right a little bit. I am going to, so I want it to print that way. I need to push this over that way. Let's see how that one goes. I think that's better. Maybe a little too far to the right. It's a good thing I cut some extras. I'm also glad I made all that white because looks like we're gonna go through quite a bit. The screaming sound adds to the spookiness of the season. I think we nailed it. Did we nail it? I think we're ready to go. Gotta say, I'm pushing pretty hard on this table and it is just taking it like a champ, even raised up pretty high. I'm fairly tall individual at 6'2", and I have this raised up high and it's not wobbling at all. Okay, so the first color went just swimmingly. Is that the term? Is it swimmingly? What does that mean? Anyway, it looks great. Now I'm going to print the second color and hope that it goes as well as this, because we got 4 colors and we gotta line them all up on this pretty intricate artwork. I'm not sure what I was thinking, doing something so needing to be very tight for it to not look crazy. The good news is aligning should be pretty easy because of the super high contrast of the solid white coverage on the black paper. So I'm just gonna take one of the pretty much perfect ones and I'm gonna put it into the same position in the tape because I made all the screens at the same time using the same file. So ideally the screens should all be in the same spot. So if I push this down, it should line up. It looks pretty close. Let me just confirm. One pro tip, use a slightly heavier paper. This paper that I got is a little bit thinner than I was expecting, and because of that, the ink is making it billow a little bit. It's harder to get it perfectly centered into the space. I think we're gonna just have to go for it. Put some tape on here, set this as a time lapse, and I'm gonna print the yellow. Wish me luck. So I've had to do a little bit of troubleshooting here. The paper was getting stuck to the screen. So I used this mat that has adhesive on it, which is, I think, more suited for when you're printing shirts or something like that to hold it in place. But the problem is it's a little too sticky for the paper. So the paper was having a hard time coming off of it. And then it was making it like roll or like fold in on itself. So I tried to like make it a little less sticky by putting some fuzzies from my shirt on it by just like rolling my sleeve on it. That helped a little bit, but not enough. So then I ended up just putting tape over the whole thing, or not the whole thing, but just in specific areas to just sort of break up the adhesive. But it's working pretty good. I'm a little concerned that the amount of space between the colors, which will act as the line work, might be a little too thin, given there's like 4 different colors that can creep into that space a little bit and just get rid of the line work altogether. So there's a chance I may mitigate that by printing a 5th color as line work if the line work is obscured too much when we get to the final color. So we'll have to see. Just thought I'd give you a quick update on the troubleshooting and the situation so far. But hasn't been anything that is catastrophic yet, but we're not even halfway through. It's also a good thing I'm doing a lot because the amount of good ones dwindles with each color because mistakes happen. Back to the time lapse. Hey, so I printed first 2 colors. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are a bit off, but that's what we expected. We're gonna try to print the 3rd color, and I think that'll help me have a better idea if I'm gonna have to print some line work over the top, but we'll see when we get there. I think they're looking pretty cool so far. Should have used some heavier paper. Would have made things a little bit less rolly, but let's go. Hey, it's me. Just thought I would check in on the process. Almost done printing the pink, and it's going pretty well. I think they're turning out pretty good. You know, there's definitely some that are a bit off, but I'm starting to feel less concerned that I might have to do a line work color on top because it seems like it's holding up. We'll see as the last color goes down, but so far they're looking pretty good. I'm finally remembering to get into the habit of, before I take the print out, I flood the screen again, because especially towards the end when you've been printing for a while, the ink starts to get a lot thicker and it can kind of dry in the stencil area. and kind of make a mess of your print. So if you flood the screen with wet ink, it stops that from happening. The paper is still sticking pretty hard. I'm not gonna show you this one because it's not that good. I also start to run out of space to put things down as I get towards the end. I need to get like one of those racks if I'm gonna start taking this seriously. But that is another thing to think about. You know, when I planned this out, and even when I did the last print, I don't think about how long it's gonna take. And it's a long process, like making these prints, even not having to deal with like coating screens and exposing them. Just the printing process takes a long time. And I try to think like, do I like this? Is this something that's fun? Because sometimes I don't know what I think. You know what I'm talking about? I have such a hard time worrying that there's never enough time. So the time that goes by that I'm printing, I'm like, oh no, running out of time. Especially this week because I'm going to Adobe Max next week. So I have to get a lot of stuff done ahead of time, including client work and filming videos. So I don't let you all down without a video coming. I'm not gonna show you this one either. I wanna just get a really good one to show you. We'll do another one. This one's good. So if I can do a good job with the red, I think this will be the one to share with you. But it's tedious because this paper is curling a lot from a mix of the ink and the adhesive that I put down on the board. You know, it's tricky. But I think the colors are looking good on the black. I'm glad that I did the white flood underneath. All right, it's not perfect, but I'll share it with you. Okay. Anyway, that's where we're at. I'm almost done with this. Really hoping I can finish the print today, as long as these dry pretty quickly, but the yellows seem to dry fast. So I think it's gonna be okay. I'm still printing on the ones that are like not perfect because sometimes those can give cool results. And when I did the last print, I made the imperfect ones available and a bunch of you bought them. So thank you for that. Maybe I'll do that again on this one. Ink's definitely getting sticky towards the end of this print run. I'm gonna finish these up and I will talk to you soon. Also, I'm filming this on my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. The time has finally come to print the fourth color and hope I don't mess it all up. Got some coffee to keep me on my toes. Got tape in my screen. I put a phone here so I can get a sweet shot that moves with it. If you watch the video and you see this shot and you go, whoa, that's a cool shot. That's what I did there. Got my blue ink. Pro tip, always check your fingies before you start touching your prints. Think we're good. You know, it's not perfect, but we're not trying to do perfect, right? That's the point. We're trying to fight the robots. All right, I'm gonna print these out. I will do a time lapse and I'll talk to you soon. So it worked, I think. I got some prints. I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. I attempted to do 50-ish, knowing that there would be a lot of mix-ups, a lot of issues with maybe ink or alignment, or just all kinds of things can go wrong when you are doing a 4-color screen print. But I sorted through them and decided that 21 of them were up to my standard. What my standard is, I don't know. I tried to pick ones that had the right amount of imperfection because the whole point of me doing this is to make them a little bit perfect. If you're familiar with my work, you'll know I often use like the Riso brushes in my Retro Spico pack and then just like offset my layers so it just has that analog feel. I love that imperfection. I try to keep it into my work as much as I can. Although I work mainly digital these days, I still try to bring in that handmade quality. So here's an example of one that I think has just the right amount of imperfection. This one is a little far on the edge because you can see there's this spot of blue that, you know, just didn't come through. And I kind of love that. I love the spots where it's just like a little bit gone. like it didn't print. And then alignment's slightly shifted. I love the way the red is kind of off from the flame a little bit, and then these like dots on these, I don't know, are they Venus flytraps? They're kind of like the things from Mario. But these are the prints. I'm pretty happy with them. I think the colors look great on the black paper. Doing the white underprint really helps to make them pop. I got a whole pile of extra imperfect ones that I will probably make available like I did with my last poster. Seems like some of you were into the extra imperfect ones at a discounted rate, but these should be in my shop when you're seeing this video. So if you want to grab one, there are 21 official prints signed and numbered, and then there's a stack of imperfect ones, probably about 20 more of those, and then there's probably like 8 to 10 that are just a little too wild. Some of those were when I was fine-tuning the alignment off at the beginning and the white was shifted off to the right, so I printed those again just because why not, but they're very off. And then some of them were so messed up I would experiment and like flip the thing upside down, because like flip one of the colors upside down, because you know, why not? We're having fun, we're experimenting. It also reminded me back in the day when I used to screen print more, I would always have like a test print page that I would print all of my stuff onto. And I haven't been doing that. I think I should, because you get this kind of fun result where it just has, you know, prints of everything that you've done on one thing. Turned into a bit of a mess. But I did have one of the skull prints from the Good Luck poster that I did that I forgot to do the third color on, so I printed one of these colors on top of that. Who knows, maybe I'll keep printing on that, see what happens, make something fun. This whole time maybe you've been thinking, what about the glow in the dark? How did it go? Did it go? No, they don't glow. I needed to treat the glow in the dark ink as like a separate thing that I would print on top on its own so that it would just make that area glow. Instead, I mixed it with just a ton of white, which really just overpowers the glow ability. So we can't tell that it glows. Maybe in the future, I will do an actual glow-in-the-dark thing where I will print the glow stuff as its own separate layer on top to make it glow. If you want me to make something glow, let me know in the comments and maybe I will take that into consideration. Thanks again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. If you need a sturdy, dependable, good-looking desk for your setup, look no further. They also make great ergonomic chairs like this one. Great spinability. Highly recommend. Got adjustable lumbar support too. Oh, and I forgot to mention, FlexiSpot provided me with a discount code where you can get $50 off an E7 Pro just like mine. That promo code is YTE7P50. If this video made you want to know more about screen printing, especially with this Xtool's laser cutter screen combination, you should definitely check out this video where I go into all the details about that. I think it's a really cool setup. I'm excited that I have the ability to screen print again in a way that is way easier than it used to be, without having to deal with photo emulsion and all that stuff. It's a pretty cool system. All right, it's been a good talk. I will see you in the next video. Bye.